Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, Tuberville for governor? Also, remembering Bloody Sunday. And the conspiracy lunatics have landed at the State House.
Hello, Earth. Hey, hello, what? If that's the Earth, where the cotton-picking heck am I?
You are on Mars.
Oh, and we so wish that you were there too. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, investigative reporter and columnist at APR. Welcome.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all.
Today is the 60th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, a day that changed Alabama and the world, but we're going to get to that much later. But speaking of fights, Tommy Tuberville has been flirting with the idea, Susan, of running for governor of Alabama for some time now. And he says that he's going to announce his decision in May. But he teased that out this past week. And then we had Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth put out a Facebook post or X post where he was in a 10K race and he's got his box of Wheaties. And so I think if Senator Tuberville leaves the most exclusive country club in the world to come back to Alabama, he's going to be in for a rude awakening when the real race starts.
Well, he's going to have to come back to Alabama in more than one way. He's going to have to actually move here,
Right?
Which is going to be. I know he has places here, but he lives in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is mainly just a trial balloon, but I think he's going to find out that there's a lot of information out there on him that he is either not aware of or doesn't want to admit to. That's going to cause him some problems. And Will Ainsworth is a good campaigner.
Josh, if I were Tommy Tuberville, I would run a opposition research thing on my cell first. Find out
self-study would serve him well,
yes,
I'd say.
yes.
But even aside from that, making this move is really counter to everything that we would expect from Tommy Tuberville, even back during his coaching career. I mean, this is the path of least resistance is always kind of Tommy Tuberville's best approach on things. On everything, and staying in the Senate where he's got a nice safe seat. He's making a boatload of cash off of all of his stock trades. He seems to be doing okay. Would be the easiest thing to do, or if he's tired of that, simply retiring. I don't think he understands completely. I think a lot of people look at the KIV governorship at this point and says, that this is an easy job because, she doesn't have to do much or whatever. But I don't think that they fully appreciate kind of everything that she does, even though she doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, let's be honest. She does at this point in her career, she's not doing a whole lot. But at the same time, it's a lot more than what he's going to be doing as a senator,
right? In
terms of getting out, glad handing folks, meeting with people, going to events, doing all this different stuff. And that's to say nothing of the campaigning that he's going to have to do. And the questions he's going to have to answer and the fight that he's going to be in for just to get the seat.
Well, I mean, he was elected during the COVID pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
He ran against Jeff Sessions, basically, and Bradley Byrne. And Donald Trump was relentlessly beating on Jeff Sessions every day.
Yeah.
And he wasn't vetted because of the COVID pandemic.
No.
I mean, we didn't write much about him. Nobody wrote much about him. But if he runs for governor, and governor should not be an easy job. No. It should be a tough job. But anyway, Susan, if he wants to run, I think he should run. And that leaves Steve Marshall to run for Senate. And God knows we need to get him out of here. But
yes, but I think he would do well in Washington.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he would.
I want to talk about something that just cracks me up. I mean, because there's a unicorn farm in Huntsville, Josh, just right outside of Madison, where you live. I don't know if you've been by the unicorn farm, but
I've not. I've not been by the unicorn.
It's
farm.
there,
Yeah.
but there is a bill, HB 248, that will outlaw the notion of geoengineering, which is to use devices to change the weather, Josh. They want to outlaw changing the weather, which is not something that currently exists except in the minds of fools.
No, listen, Democrats have had this ability to change the weather for years now, and we've done it. We haven't really used it yet. I mean, we could have used it during the last election, I guess, to kind of deter people from voting in certain states, but we didn't, and so thankfully, I think it's unfair that Democrats have this ability, but thankfully Mac Butler has sniffed this out and has come up with a piece of legislation that's going to put a stop to this unfair practice of manipulating the weather for whatever gain that we have.
Susan, there are 10 states that have almost identical bills because they want to deny science in every form. And so they come up with these deep in the internet forums that promote this stuff. Then Republicans latch onto it because they want to fool people and make them scared, make them think they've got special knowledge. And all they're doing is making fools of themselves to anybody that has a half a brain.
I just have to say, the pictures of the chemtrails are making me feel so zen right now.
Yes, they
absolutely
calm you down, right?
do, because they've got all of that in there. This is foolishness. We've got real problems in this state. This is not happening. It never has been happening. These have been rumors that have been going on since the 90s. I mean, he's trying to pretend like he's got some grand, vast knowledge of something that doesn't exist. These are conspiracy theories.
I mean,
that's all there. There's no scientific basis.
I would think we want to ban Bigfoot. I think this would accomplish the same thing.
Yep.
And really look deep into that unicorn farm over in Madison. I think these are important issues.
For the geoengineering is probably ivermectin.
that cures everything.
Yeah, I think ivermectin cures that and whatever disease you get from the chemtrail.
But the thing is, and this is what astounds me, is we've got hospitals closing. We're about 250 doctors short. We can't. They won't do anything about Medicaid. We've got people that are dying, literally dying, and they're passing bills like one to keep you from having the health department from promoting vaccines, for Christ's sake, saying it's a waste of government money. Well, dying people are a waste of life, and they cost money too.
Right, and what they're basically saying on that is it's pharmaceutical advertising.
Yeah,
taxpayer dollars promoting pharmaceutical advertising. But you know what? On no other issue are they banning that. No other health issue being promoted out through to the people other than vaccines.
Josh, it is just the playbook that the far right has come up with. I don't care how loony you are on the left, to deny that measles are real, that vaccines work, to deny that viruses don't kill and that vaccines don't work is just utter stupidity.
Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, and I've heard people say that we should just leave them alone and let them do this, and it'll thin the herd out.
Yeah.
But that's the kids didn't choose this. Just because their idiot parents are doing these sorts of things and believing this sort of nonsense and sucked into the conspiracy theories, we can't allow that to take place. And you're right. It's a travesty to watch things that have been eradicated and folks die, kids literally dying from diseases that we could cure.
Anyway, we're gonna have to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Speed is one of the biggest factors in a fatal car crash. Your car stops, but your body does not stop at the same time. Your body keeps going, and that could be running into your seatbelt, that could be hitting the airbag. Something has to stop it, and unfortunately, it's something very hard.
There have been times that we've come upon accidents where if people weren't speeding, they'd probably still be alive today.
It's truly dangerous, and it puts everybody at risk.
There's just no point to it. This kind of stuff has got to stop.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. As I said at the top of the show, this is the 60th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, a day that changed America, that changed much of the world, because peaceful resistance proved to overcome centuries of hate and segregation. But it took time, Josh. I know you have looked at this story and what happened to African Americans, Black Americans in this country. And it's still shameful, but we're supposed to not bring it up anymore because all the problems are fixed. But if you look at what's happening today in the world, in the United States, and you remember back just 60 short years ago where Black people stood, it's astounding and scary.
Yeah, it is. And we've regressed in a lot of ways from a lot of the advancements and progress that we made, and post really started in 1955 with the bus boycott, and and moved forward into 65 with the Selma to Montgomery March, and all the events that went on the Edmund Pettus, and everything that happened leading up to it, and just the beatings, with John Lewis and all the folks on the bridge, and the murders. And it just is, I think what happened in the years since then is a lot of racists became smarter about their racism. And they learned that overt sort of racism, that in your face sort of stuff, was a turnoff, and they were not going to be able to get away with it. And so they got a lot smarter about hiding it and couching it and making it seem as though things like diversity, equity, and inclusion are somehow affronts to white people, because if you make the playing field level, then you don't have that advantage anymore. And somehow not having the advantage is a disadvantage to white people. And it's just, it really has become a shame. And because you're right, in a lot of ways, not in 1965, but in the years that followed, Black Americans had many more rights than what they enjoy now. And I think we're making progress and could see that things were heading in a proper direction, particularly within our education system.
Yeah.
The desegregation of schools at that point created what was at the time the greatest lift of the bottom students in our nation's history. And we've never achieved anything like it. And we've been steadily tearing it down ever since because, people wanted to run to the suburbs and be surrounded by folks of their own race.
Yeah. Well, Susan, on the House floor or the Senate floor the other day, Representative Smitherman got up and they were filibustering this history and archive bill,
Right.
where they want to basically erase or control what history is taught, what is taught about race and all that. They really want to control that. And he talked about how when he was 16 years old, that Black people didn't have voting rights.
Mm-hmm.
But when he turned 17, they did. Now he had to wait. He would have had to wait till he was 21 to vote. But it's not that long ago.
No, it's not. It's really not that long ago. And the thing that everything seemed to be progressing very well. And the thing that the MAGA movement really showed me is that more than anything, the racism got quiet. It got quiet. People kind of hid it. And now it's back in its full glory, if you would, for lack of a better word. And like Josh said, we seem to be going backward now, which is very, very concerning.
Well, I was speaking to a black woman the other day who's not from here, and she said, "I can't believe, the stuff I'm seeing now." I said, "Well, it's kind of been here more than it should have been all along." I said, "But you have never seen white people get more motivated than when Black Lives Matter came out, right, Josh? I mean, it got some white folks motivated, man."
Yeah, no, it's when folks had to start caring about Black lives for a matter of what we do that about 18 months or so, and all we made some real concessions and talked about some of the things that have been wrong in hiring practices in a lot of different areas throughout our country, and we made some corrections, and now you've seen a lot of these companies roll back those corrections because of such a backlash from white people. And Susan's right; it has been a lot more in your face, especially since the Trump election. And I mean, let's be honest, that's what it's about. And that's a lot of they appeal to that sort of base, and they can say that they don't, but the proof is in the actions that they take all the time.
Well,
and when you're doing things like removing a war hero like Hal Moore name from the Army base over in Columbus, Georgia, and restoring it back to Benning. I know they've done it in a cute way to try to make it a different Benning, but the purpose was to restore a Confederate general's name to that, and they've done it with other Confederate generals as well. And that sort of thing is, honestly, it's a slap in the face to a lot of black people, and they're doing it on purpose and with a grin and with honestly, it's a shame.
One of the things that astounds me is that they don't understand that. Well, they do understand, I guess. The people that have benefited most from DEI are women. But again, there is a movement against women as well. But I want to go to
it just continues.
The next topic, which is I think a very important thing. Governor Ivey wants this second chance bill to pass. It is a part of what I call being smart on crime. And it really is an excellent bill that will release some people that were put in prison under the Habitual Offender Act. And many of them are old and don't need to be incarcerated any longer. They're no threat to society.
They're no threat. Yeah, like you said, most of them are elderly or disabled. I know when we toured the prisons, we went by the infirmary. And I mean, you're talking about prisoners in wheelchairs without legs because they have, lost them from diabetes and such. And these are not your violent offenders. These are not your murderers, your rapists, anything like that. They're just simply people that are in there on nonviolent crimes. We've got an overcrowding problem. And also with it being elderly and disabled, we're talking about saving on medical costs here as well.
I mean, Josh, this Habitual Offender Act was a travesty from the beginning. It still is. The 3 strikes you're out thing, because you could do nonviolent crimes and do 3 of them, and all of a sudden you're in prison for the rest of your life. And it's just what Governor Ivey wants here makes sense to me.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to do this. It never made a lot of sense to do this arbitrary sort of 3 strikes and you're out sort of thing. And because I don't know that it necessarily deterred any crime. I would love to see the stats that showed that these sorts of initiatives deter crime in some way, because I don't think that they do. I think that if you're an habitual offender like that, then you're doing this for a reason. And most of the time it's related to drugs. You have an addiction issue and you're doing that sort of thing. Yeah. Are there bad actors out there? Of course there are. But you know what? We've got judges and an entire system in place out there to make these decisions and lock people up when they do bad things. And, I think we ought to get back more to that and have that sort of discretion among the judges. Are they going to make mistakes from time to time? Of course they are. They're humans as well. But at the same time, I feel like that should be back in there and they should determine what the sentences are.
I agree. Judges should have more leeway. They should have more resources. And that's why we call them judges, so they can judge. But we're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
personal biggest pet peeve is kids who are not properly restrained, whether that be in a booster seat, a car seat, or even a simple seatbelt. Kids, they become projectiles, and it's terrifying.
It absolutely breaks my heart to know that something so innocent could be punished so severely.
Your children rely on you to be that person that says, no, you need to put your seatbelt on.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Recently, a bill from Dr. Tim Melson would have made hemp-derived products that have THC in them that are sold in convenience stores and vape shops and all that around the state, would have made them totally illegally. Then he came back and said, we've got a new bill where they'll be legal, you have to be 21, we'll tax it, and then regulate it, have it tested and all that. That was great. One of the things that I think we left out of the discussion last week was the fact that in some counties, Susan, in Alabama, you can be arrested for possession of a controlled substance for having one of these products that is legal under current Alabama law, but they use a convoluted thinking process to arrest people. We talked to one attorney who told us about one of his clients. The young man was over 21, went into a convenience store. He purchased a Ready Roll Delta 8 cigarette, and there was a police officer standing right behind him. Mm-hmm. He left the store, got in his car. The police officer left the store, got in his car, followed him, and pulled him over, and arrested him for having a Class 1 substance. That's a huge felony offense. Mm-hmm. I mean, you and the guy said, I just bought it in the store. You saw me buy it in the store.
Right. Well, what the police officers, and this has happened in many counties around Alabama. I mean, there's smaller counties that would apparently police officers have nothing better to do than harass people. Yeah. I mean, these products are legal under the Federal Farm Act. And what this police officer was saying was, well, this particular cigarette, Ready Roll cigarette, had more than what is legal. However, and this has happened multiple times, they don't get the product tested. And there have been people that got convicted of a felony for buying a Ready Roll cigarette that's legal under the Farm Act because they're saying it's just got too much THC in it when they don't even test it to see how much it's got in it.
And Josh, you know, that the technicality there is that it's 0.03 dry weight. And so if you get it in a vaporized product, how do you even get back to dry weight? But I'm not asking you to solve that puzzle. You're not. Yeah. You might.
Yeah, I was told there would be no math. So yeah, listen, I don't know, man. This sounds like some poor police, if I do say so myself, because wouldn't your arrest be the guy that's standing there selling out hundreds of these Ready Roll cigarettes?
That's the other part of the argument here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the trafficking, the bigger offense here, not the one guy who's got the one cigarette. Honestly, I don't doubt that this is happening at all. As a matter of fact, we all know the attorney. We know what he says is true out of this. We know it was defended in court. We can find the court papers and see it and see what the idiotic arguments were from the police officers and the county. And I mean, it's just the fact that we wasted time and effort and taxpayer dollars on this right here. Surely there are other. This is Etowah County, right? I mean,
what happened?
I think
it happened in Cherokee.
Yeah, I think it wasn't in Etowah County.
Oh, happened in Cherokee. Oh, well, Cherokee. Yes. I can guarantee you there are some meth labs that they could have been out busting in Cherokee County. Okay, I've been there. I have family in Cherokee. I know for a fact that there's some meth labs around there they could have been taken care of, and leaving this poor sap alone who bought a cigarette from a convenience store when you didn't bother to arrest the person selling it. I mean, what sense does this make? And it's just, and you're right. You know, I've heard stories of cops pulling people over and saying, "Oh, well, listen, here on your windowsill is evidence of cocaine use, and it ended up being bird poop." You know, and it's just, you know, I mean, this sort of things happen a lot, and what they're counting on is this stuff never gets out.
Yeah.
They never find a media outlet, they never find a source, and they never find a decent attorney to come in and do it. And they cut a deal, and it goes off, and they get an arrest out of this. And it's still, it's atrocious. It's a violation of rights that we should all be outraged by. And this sort of idiocy right here, we've got to solve this. And so I hope Nelson's bill gets passed, and maybe it restores some sanity to what we're doing.
And this goes hand in hand with what we've talked about on a number of subjects. You've got a product that's out there. It's legal. Tax it, regulate it, and, make sure that people are using it properly, like gaming, same thing. But we don't do that, but we might do it here. We absolutely might do it.
Well, we can't get the Medical Cannabis Commission to do anything. People have got to have relief.
Well, and Josh and I, and so we all talked about this. There was a report out of Montgomery last week.
God, that was atrocious.
That a 3-year-old should have recognized was an absolute lie. I mean, Josh, you saw it. Susan, you saw it. The reporter goes in. He talks to John McMillan. He goes, "Oh, well, it's all these lawsuits.
Because people don't want, they want their licenses, and they're just suing because they didn't get one."
Yeah, they're just sour grapes because they didn't get one. Then the guy comes back out and he talks to Will Somerville, I think is an attorney for one of the groups. And Will says, no. That's not the truth. They've broken the law over there. And so then the anchor comes back on, this battle's been going on for a year. Maybe it'll get settled soon. What? Who are you? Why do you call yourself a news organization? You don't know what you're talking about.
Do your homework.
Well, honestly, it was a little like saying, if not for this murder trial, OJ would still be making those naked gun movies. It's just dumb as that. Really, it's just like, look, man, there's a reason why this stuff is still going on. Okay. And the reason that it's still going on is they violated the laws. Yeah. Okay. They violated the AMCC violated the laws in terms of what they were supposed to do in the licensing process. And so people who were involved in this, who spent millions and millions of dollars, who are still spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on legal fees all through the years now that this has been going on, they rightfully sued them because the process was not fair. And a judge looked at it and said, I got to tell you guys, I don't think the process is fair. Okay. Yeah. And this is not some arbitrary stuff. Read the stuff and stop putting out this nonsense and making it seem like this is just a bunch of sour grapes and they're holding it up from the good people out there because these judges are just doing the wrong thing. It's nonsense.
But the process that was set in place with the legislation was fair. They didn't follow the process that was laid out for them.
No, they didn't.
They went around it. It's like going, to Atlanta to get to Birmingham.
Yeah.
Okay. Last week, the man who, Tim Melson, we just talked about, as a medical doctor up in Florence, who created this bill for the medical cannabis, did all this work on it. When that person sits in a committee and says, I think there was an agenda.
Yeah.
From some of these folks on the commission, because we wrote out a law that I think was pretty clear to follow, and they didn't follow it. And I want to know why they didn't follow it, but we're going to have to fix it on the backside of this thing because they can't do it.
And that's going to have to be the last word on that. Thank you all for joining us today. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.